we're making progress. Beautiful. Well, welcome and thank you. I'm just tickled to get to see some of you again after quite a little while. I'm happy to see all of you again. It's just some I've seen more recently. So Jude and John and I were just kicking around the idea that you know, well, I guess several different things changed. For many years, I was sort of I started just doing the work for a sick dog on the kitchen floor, and then little by little to start doing classes, and then to have such wonderful faculty join me, and then to have the pandemic come along. So we went online. For the first time ever, there was a community. It felt like a worldwide, tiny, but a worldwide community of people not only sharing their love for Jin Shin Jyutsu, but also for the animals. And that's just such a unique gift that we thought we'd all come together and get to share a little bit, maybe hear some of your stories, work on ourselves a little, work on our pups or animals if they are right there with us, and just touch base. So basically this hour is to reconnect and see how fabulously present and peaceful it can be. Jude or John, anything to add?
We're gonna jump in and have our time to speak, but John and I, if you don't know us, have together between us over 30 years of Jin Shin Jyutsu experience, and about 8 years of specific animal Jin Shin Jyutsu experience with our good friend and mentor Adele. So we are so pleased to be here.
Yeah. So now here's a real surprise for everybody. We thought we'd start with some breathing. How about that? I feel confident you've all been doing it all day long. You just wouldn't be here. But Jin Shin Jyutsu allows us that gorgeous opportunity to bring consciousness to our breath. I don't know if I have any brand new folks. I'm going to jump back to Gabby.
Yes, you do.
One?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Then you don't have to give me a show of hands. That's all right. Okay, so I have been playing with the art since 1989. Now, when I say playing with, I came into it with a big old terminal label, so it didn't seem like much play at the time, but it has turned into that. And at its simplest, Jin Shin Jyutsu is about being in the moment, body, mind, and spirit. And the best, truest, easiest way to get there is through your breath. I know many other modalities all work with this, but that is because it's the truth. It's just we get there in different ways. It's my personal experience that combining my awareness of the breath and my experience of the breath with holding particular places on the body, places we call safety energy locks, which are energetic building blocks of the body, if you will. Holding them in specific combinations has the ability to bring us into peace and harmony. And healing actually being a byproduct of that state of peace and harmony. So it's also my experience that if you really want to share it with the animals, There's no shortcut. If you don't get in touch with your breath, if you don't bring yourself to a calm, centered place before you put your hands on, it doesn't go as well. You are not that vehicle of peace. And the animals know it, and they go, thanks, good intention, but we'll skip it today. So we're going to play with coming into some centered breath that will facilitate the animals being more receptive. Mary Burmeister, who Jude will talk about in a few minutes, talks about 36 conscious breaths a day, bringing us into that state of peaceful harmony. So we're going to share 36 conscious breaths together. When we think about the breath, I find we do it slightly differently than a lot of society. We talk about bringing our consciousness to the exhale first. Exhaling down the front of the body, letting go. Because until you let go, you can't receive anymore. Fully let go, down the front, up the back, up the spine, over the head, receiving. So a never-ending energetic oval. Down the front, letting go, up the back, receiving. Don't get hung up on it. Don't worry if you can't bring your mind there. In time, that becomes natural. So let's play with 36 breaths. John, you want to kick us off?
Hey everyone, I'm John. So I think the way we're going to do this is each of us are going to do a sequence of 12 breaths, focusing on a different hold or quickie. And Mary talks about the idea of, the body is the bust line, the hip line, and the waistline as being centric to body function and flows. So I'm going to start with a simple hold that I use all the time. It's safety energy lock, holding safety energy lock 26, which, as I think almost everyone in this group knows, is found just at the armpits, really at the back of the armpits. It's a comfortable hold, right on left, left on right, cross arms. Safety energy lock 20. It's beautiful. You can sit on a subway car in a crowded subway car, and nobody will know what you're doing, and you're comfortable. But this is a great way to do breath work, starting at the bust line. And so we're just going to take 12, and then Jude and Adele will follow, and each one of us will do a sequence of 12 breaths using a different safety energy lock or hold, whatever their choice is. But we're going to start here and just take, again, starting with an exhale, deep breath out, and then an inhale, long breath in, focusing on the breath down the front, up the back. So at your own pace, and then I'll just talk a little bit quietly about safety energy lock 26. So when you're ready, start your exhale down the front, up the back. We're going to do 12 of these. Safety energy lock 26, which is the last of the 26 safety energy locks on each side. Also known as the director. And it means the meaning of safety energy lock 26 is total and complete. So it's the last safety energy lock in the 5th depth. And the 5th depth is helping our skeletal system, our bones. It's also helping our inhale. It's the last safety energy lock in that 5th depth. So it's helping me complete the inhale up the back. Safety energy lock 26 is very powerful for mental, emotional disharmony, the digestive system, and physiologically very helpful for growth. If there's a growth or tumor or cyst, this is a particularly good hold to embrace. And as we're finishing our 12th breath, my partner Jude is going to step in with another quickie or hold to facilitate the next 12 breaths. Or Adele is going to take the next one. She's going to move down to the hip line.
That's just fine. Technically my first name is Judith, so he didn't really get it wrong. So John talked about bust line level. I'm going to talk about waistline, digestion of food and ideas. So the mental harmonizer. I have a quickie that I loved before I ever met Jin Shin Jyutsu. And then when I did, it made even more sense. Doesn't matter which side. I'm going to go with the right now. Right hand at the base of my left front ribs. Safety energy lock left 14. Left hand over holding my, there we go, my right elbow. So it's just a gentle crisscross. You can also do it this way if that feels more comfy. This has always felt like a home base for me. Now, for those who have taken the 5-day classes, you might recognize this as the anchor step of the diaphragm flow. This helps with everything about the waistline, everything about how we think, how we digest life, how we digest our food. And let's come on in to another gentle sequence of 12 breaths. Melt those shoulders as you're holding this. One of the efficient beauties of Jin Shin Jyutsu is that you can use the arms as yardsticks for the body. So here we are at Safety Energy Lock 19, Power and Authority. And it is helping open up that whole waistline. Mary talks about the 14s as representing modern man's lifestyle choices. I think when we look at if most of us are led by spirit, mind, or body, as a society, we get a little whacked out with that mind level. Lovely way of bringing it back into calm. I'm right about my 6th breath now, and I'm just going to swap hands. Left on the right 14, right on the left elbow. Another lovely aspect of this quickie is that it is great for falling asleep and for staying asleep, which of course so often has to do with clearing our mind. And now I'll turn this over to Jude for our last group of 12.
So now we're going to move our hands to hold one of our opposite wrists right below the bone. And you can feel around if there's a spot that calls you, you can feel, and then just really have a light touch and then relax your hand. And as Adele did, you can switch hands after your 6th cycle of breaths. Just in that little bit of movement, it's taken us out of our cycle. Come back, relax your shoulders again, and tune in and listen with your fingertips for a pulse. Each of these safety energy locks has its own function in the body, as John and Adele have spoken about. And the function of safety energy lock 17 at the wrist, well, they have many, but for me, the primary is just to relax. Our bodies know Jin Shin Jyutsu. So if you're ever, giving a presentation or you're standing somewhere, you might actually just be standing with your hands crossed and your hands naturally holding that wrist. Our body knows Jin Shin Jyutsu. We just need to remember it. This is the hold that I do primarily before I share Jin Shin Jyutsu with the animals, because it relaxes me, it helps me feel centered, it's quick, it's easy. As John said about the 26s, nobody's looking at you while you're doing funky holds. So this is a really good one to put into your arsenal as you continue to practice and learn this art. And let's switch to the other side. Jin Shin Jyutsu is about harmony. it brings things back to center. So as we talk about the relaxation aspect of Safety Energy Lot 17, it's also smelling salts. So it's either helping you to sleep and relax, or if something happens, grabbing your own wrist or holding someone else's is very helpful for reviving. Holding the 17s are harmonizing our hip line. And this is where Jin Shin Jyutsu's harmony of our body, our physiological body, is focused. So when we have a harmonious hip line, then our bodies are moving more comfortably and we feel more present in our bodies as well. As you're finishing up your cycle of 12 breaths, simply notice whether you feel a pulse. We call it listening with our fingertips. And it's observation. There's no judgment. Oh, I didn't feel anything, so nothing's happening. Things are happening. It's very subtle in this art. And that completes our 36 breaths. And our first, for some of you, introduction to self-help. And for those who have been practicing this art for a long time, it feels good to come back to it, especially in community like this. You can just feel it, even though we're on Zoom. It just feels wonderful to be back in community. I'm going to transition now to telling you a little bit about the history of Jin Shin Jyutsu. The literal meaning is the art of the creator through compassionate man. It was rediscovered in the early 20th century by a Japanese man named Jiro Murai, who had a terminal illness. He happened to be 26. Numbers are very, very important in this art. He happened to be 26, diagnosed with a terminal illness, and went up to his family cabin to meditate and fast and prepare to die. And he recalled he had a vision of finger mudras, finger holds that he had seen throughout his life. And for the week, he fasted and he held the finger positions. That's all he did. He kept getting colder and colder and colder until on the 7th day, he felt this rush of heat in his body, thought he was dying. He passed out and woke up the next day and was healed. And he dedicated the rest of his life to figuring out how the heck that happened. So he studied, he practiced on himself, he practiced on others. He got access to, medical things going on, and he just really, really focused on why that healed his body, and he documented it. So this is in the early 20th century, and fast forward as he's learning this, the Japanese emperor heard about him and his healing capabilities, invited him to share this art with him, and he did. And as a gift, he gave Jiro Murai access to the Royal Library there. He found a book called the Kojiki, which was written in the 700s. And it was not written the way we would understand it, but it was really a guide pointing back to the source of this art, which was thousands of years old and came from India. So you see commonalities with acupuncture, acupressure, yoga, Ayurvedic study, all of these things. As Adele said, the breath is so common with these ancient healing arts is what they all are. And Jiro studied and really understood the mysteries that were in the Kojiki. He documented those. And after World War II, he met then Mary Eno. Her married name is Mary Burmeister, who was an American, Japanese American in Japan teaching English. And she too had a mysterious illness, and Jiro would ride 2 hours on the train to come and treat her. She mysteriously recovered and studied with Jiro Morai, as did her father. And when she met a military serviceman who asked her to come back to the United States and marry him, Jiro asked Mary to bring Jin Shin Jyutsu with her to the US. She didn't really understand the weight of that question, and she really dedicated her life, as he dedicated his life, to figuring out how it worked. And so she translated Jiro's material into the material that we, with a Western mindset, could more easily understand. And she created, it took her 35 years, she dedicated 35 years to create 3 self-help books. And again, they are just so rich. When you look at them, it's like, okay, so what? But when you really understand that each page, each word is so carefully selected and deliberately selected by Mary for its meaning and contribution to what she's relaying, it's really quite amazing. And I'm speaking about Adele, where she is on the screen. And Adele took this self-help work that Mary had given us, and you've dedicated your life to translating that into practice for our animals. And we are so thankful and grateful that you've done that. And you've got a textbook, there are charts, and then of course we have classes online and in person. So that's the brief history of how we got to where we are right now. So we are going to jump in. We've done our self-help. We've heard about Jin Shin Jyutsu as an art. And one of the things we'd like to say, it is experiential. And it's experiential ourselves when we do self-help, as we did. Hopefully you're feeling more grounded, more centered, more present. And it's also experiential when we practice with the animals. Adele has a very unique setup where she has 2 dogs that lay as perfect demo dogs, as we call them. When John and I teach, we usually record what we're doing, because our 2 dogs are not quite as cooperative as Adele's. And John is going to talk Adele through, as Adele demonstrates on her perfect Carmen, one of our initial holds as well as a follow-up hold.
Take myself off mute there. Okay. So I can't see Adele there, but Adele is going to start with her Carmen by introducing what's introduced in her book on page 18 of her first textbook, and then page 22 of the second textbook. This is a hold of safety energy locks 10 and 13, which she introduces as the initial centering safety energy lock. Holding these 2 safety energy locks. And this is center, by the way. So the safety energy locks are found on the right and left side of the body. And then along the spine is the center. So it's in between the two safety energy locks. So this hold is holding safety energy lock 10, which is her left hand is at the base of the shoulder blades, right there in the shoulder blades, at the center. And safety energy lock 13, she's reaching underneath between the legs to comfortably hold center safety energy lock 13. And this is a way to, it's really asking permission. And this is, animals are generally very comfortable when you hold them here. It's a way to allow asking them permission for us to work with them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The thing about doing this work with animals is finding the way to connect with them. And this, over years of experience, has proven to be a great introduction to the art. Safety energy, it's a great hold because it's helping everything. It's simple in its utter simplicity. Safety energy locks 10 and 13 held together is helping both the exhale down the front on safety energy lock 13 and the inhale up the back, holding safety energy lock 10. For those who are familiar with Jin Shin Jyutsu, this is also on the main central. We're holding the center, we're holding the spine. So Adele has introduced a technique of doing main central work with animals. It's a little different than with how we do it on ourselves. But by holding safety energy lock 10 and 13, we're helping everything on the main central again. So safety energy lock 10 is all about abundance. And because it's on our backs, this is helping the inhale up the back. Safety energy lock 10 is located in the second depth. So it's helping everything in the second depth. It's helping this is helping deep skin. So any issues we're having with deep skin or things that are skin issues that are caused that are coming from the inside, being helped by holding safety energy lock 10. Other things that are helped by safety energy lock 10 are emotional and mental projects. Circulation and heart related projects are helped by safety energy lock 10. Blood pressure, vascular. Respiratory, especially taking again, helping with the breath. Safety energy lock 13, which is the meaning is love your enemies, or a better way of saying that for me is love the other, love our neighbor, love the other. It's all about nurturing, it's about transformation, bringing the invisible, the creator, into matter. So it's supporting the exhale down the front. So safety energy lock 13 also helps our immune system. It's very good with promoting a healthy immune system, balancing our appetite. It helps with it's releasing, so it's helping with tension in the shoulders and the neck area. and mental emotional issues. So for animal work, especially for those of you who have rescued an animal or do work at volunteer work at shelters, emotional and often these animals have trauma, and there's been fear, and this is a big part of these animals' lives. So this simple hold is really helping them to release and harmonize the disharmony that they've encountered in their lives and that has been a part of their lives. And I think, so the other hold that I think we're going to talk about briefly is in Adele's book, and it's called she calls it the revitalizer and calmer. So again, this is very simple to transition to when you're holding 1013, if they'll let you, is to continue to hold safety energy lock 13. That hand just stays there. And from safety energy lock 10 at the shoulder blades, gently moving the hand up to the base of the skull, right at the base of the skull, to safety energy lock 4. Again, safety energy lock 4, which with most of our animal companions, that's going to cover everything. You're going to cover left, right, and center. For those of you, I see our friends from Charleston who have horses. You know, it's a different hold, but you want to be in the center if you can. Safety energy lock 4 is also known as the window. It's the window of the soul. Safety energy lock 4 is also located in the first step, so it's helping our it's helping our skin, the surface skin issues. Again, it's helping the breath. It's helping on the inhale. This particular, again, 10 and 13 help with fear. This is particularly helpful for anxiety and animals that are fearful, unsettled. Some of the other things that safety energy lock 4 helps harmonize, there's blood pressure. Again, it's more with, think of that more with humans, but yes, cholesterol, eye and throat projects. Again, breath. This is helping breathing projects, heart and circulation, pain and swelling. So again, this is a very simple and gentle hold that allows us to be with these. Look at Carmen. Look at how beautifully she just lays there. And finding the time and the space to be with our companions is the key thing. And Jude said it earlier. If we're harmonized, if we've done our work and our self-help, they let us in. They let us in.
And they gravitate to it. It looks like Shirako is trying to come down and have his turn on the table. When we do our self-help, the animals will probably come to us, and then it's shared energetically. We're all connected, right? So if you don't have the perfect demo dog like Adele has, we call it drive-by Jin Shin Jyutsu. These are 2 things that you can attempt, and if it doesn't work, then it's fine. So as you're petting them, your hands just settle, and if they walk away, then they're done. That's what John was saying about asking permission. If they walk away, we don't hold them, we don't force them, we just let them go, and that was their session for a couple of seconds. Then, you know, a few hours later, you're doing self-help again, whatever that may be. They come back, or, you know, whatever the circumstance, they come back. You can hold your hands there again. You know, we pet them and then we just let our hands rest. And they let you do that for a few moments. And then you can move your hand up to safety energy lock 4. John talked about the fear that 13 and the 4 is really magical for thunderstorms, fireworks, animals that are afraid of those kind of loud, terrorizing noises. And with Jin Shin Jyutsu, it's cumulative. So we don't wait for a thunderstorm to occur before we say, oh, come over here. You know, this is not rescue remedy. This is, I know that my animal, dogs primarily, has this fear of thunderstorms. So I'm going to do a lot of 13 and 4, and especially during thunderstorm season, this is something that I would do with them every day. People ask, how long do you hold? And that's for a couple of minutes, as long as the animal will let you, or until you feel a rhythmic pulsation in your hands. That's when the body is saying these safety energy locks are harmonized. You can move on to the next. And I think John remarked when he was learning the animal work with our dog Tucker, that he found it much more easy to feel and hear the pulse in Tucker than on our human clients. So this is really, it's really just a beautiful way of being with your animal companions.
And I remember asking that question, which pulse am I feeling? I mean, early on, which pulse am I actually, am I noticing? And Jude made this comment, and I've heard it's again from other instructors, is that there's only one pulse. There's only one pulse. And likewise, there's only one breath. We all share the same breath. You know, Jin Shin Jyutsu is all about oneness and harmony, bringing spirit, mind, and body together. And we're going to field some questions, by the way, in the last few minutes. So we're going to open this up. And I see a couple in the chat. But just a reminder, and Jude said it well, is that Jin Shin Jyutsu is about harmony. It's about healing, but it's about harmony. And we talk about these things and what are the disharmonies, and these simple holds and flows are ways of reintroducing harmony and allowing energy to flow the way it's intended to flow. And sometimes you see miraculous results and dramatic changes, and you see them quickly. But like Jude said, it's cumulative. It always works, and it may not always work the way we want it to or think it would like it to in the moment, but it always works. So it's about being with our companions, doing the work on ourselves, and Jin Shin Jyutsu is always working, and harmony is being reintroduced, and that's what this art's about.
And another fun aspect of it, which you might have picked up on, is it permeates. You work on yourself, you help your animals. You work on one animal, it's going to help your other animals. So I don't know if you caught that look that we got from Carmen, but yeah, that one where she's saying, excuse me, I did all the work and then my brother butted in here. But we are in the throes of great thunderstorm activity down here. And Shrako is a thunderstorm boy. So his sister was kind enough to let me hold 413 on her. And then, then he decided to come out and get a little bit himself. But it's cumulative, and it lifts, well, I believe it lifts the whole world, little by little. Thank you. That was fun to play with you, John. We've never done that before.
Yeah, it's fun to have somebody else doing the demo work and you're not doing it at the same exact time and trying to remember
Right.
what to say.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of questions in the chat. Again, I said we'll try and field these and then open it up to more questions with the time remaining. But
Let's hold off on the questions if
yep,
that's okay. What we wanted to do is open it up first to practitioners who have been practicing this with their animals, and to give them a chance to share any success stories. And maybe through that, questions will be answered as well. So if you have a story that you'd like to share, just very, very briefly about sharing this animal with this art with your animal companions, just go ahead and either raise your physical hand or your virtual hand. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a button called reactions, and there's a raise hand there, or clapping, or any reaction.
Yes, Suzanne Cole.
Good morning. How are you all?
Good morning.
I had the pleasure of meeting you, Adele, years ago, and you showed me a treatment to use on my little peekapoo. I did it as you instructed, and she got 2.5 more years of healthy life from it. So I was blessed that I met you and that I learned from you. And now I have a grandpup who he had an amputation due to osteosarcoma, and I'm hoping I can help him. They removed his leg a week ago. He's doing okay. He did have to start chemo. They want to do 6 rounds of chemo. He's only had 1 so far, but I want to help him as much as I can. He's only 2, and they were amazed that he got this so young. And every time I talk about it, this is what happens. So if I can learn anything to help him.
So I would suggest that you're always going to work on yourself first, because hard as that is, when you're with him, they're too sensitive. They will feel your sadness. So get yourself into peace. And then I am like one big old broken record, but well, what John mentioned, the 26s are very helpful with the cancer project, with the tumor. And I love spleen. It got me out of a cancer label. So I'm a real believer in that immune system. Yeah, keep us posted, and our hearts are with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mary?
I'll try to do this without tears, but I met Adele in June of 2014, became a human practitioner because she made me, because I wanted to be an animal practitioner, and that was a great gift. Jude said it's about experience, and for many years when I would hurt myself or things would be, or I was in a good place, I did it every day. And then, life took over. Worked with my animals, have a lot of my own. And then just by needing to have a place for an Adele class in California, I ran across a dog rescue. And I have become a puppy foster. In the last 3 years, I'm between 300 and 400 puppies. And what I'll tell you is when you're 24/7 and you've got sicknesses and you've got injuries, you have emotional issues, you have moms that were drugged out of shelters and thrown in with babies, you use it 24 hours a day. And learning it, using it on yourself, you recognize things in other people, other animals. So when I see something, like if I have a cough, I know what helps for me. I use it with my animals. And it's just a miracle. It's changed my life. I have the opportunity of having wild horses on my property that I've actually got to touch because of it. And I am not naturally a calm person, but it has shown me how to be present, to get out of my monkey mind and enjoy this beautiful earth. And thank you, Adele, and everyone that's been in classes with me. It is an honor. And they've profited. Thanks, everybody.
And anybody else to, oh, look at Denise is there. Jude, look at Denise is there. Hi, Denise. I think Denise may have been in the early days of the pandemic. It was kind of like we were roommates, even though she was in England, but we had a lot of time together on Zoom.
Yes. Yeah, my mum is still doing, she's still alive. And although she's got a little bit of dementia, she's doing her fingers. She still does her fingers, which is brilliant. And she still talks about, you know, sort of seeing you on Zoom. She loved watching Zoom and she loved watching the animals. So that's fabulous. But a really big bit of news is my pony, who nearly died in 2019 with metabolic laminitis. I was told that she would have to wear clogs in the rest of her life. Well, I've just been continuing Jin Shin Jyutsu on her, and I was told last week that the farrier came and he said, I'm going to change the shoes because she doesn't need clogs anymore. She's like, I don't think the pedal joint has righted itself. It's not twisted anymore. It's, you know, completely wonderful, but I'll put her some heavier shoes on to see if she can manage those. And if she can manage those, we'll take the shoes off while she's managing them. Galloping, cantering and going completely mad. So she is totally and utterly, you know, sort of healed from that. So I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled.
Yes.
So.
Oh, thank you for coming and sharing and telling. That's beautiful. Wow.
So I've got a picture of her being cheeky, she says.
Oh, okay. I'm going to put you on speaker and then see if we can see. If you hold the picture up to the camera, perhaps we'll see. Now you have to talk. Yes, good. You keep talking and I'll shut up.
Okay. So that's her, but that's it. And she's just sort of giving me the and that's her standing perfectly wonderfully. And she went out in her field to have a real good roll and a canter. So that's a really good success story, which is brilliant.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Beautiful. So let's see.
Before we jump into anyone else,
Yes,
yeah, let's just talk about getting together in October. John and Adele and I are, let me see if I can get us back here, are teaching together at Alaqua Animal Refuge in the Destin area. And let me see, sorry, I just lost myself. Anyway, Adele, take over.
okay.
I can't drive and talk.
No worries. Yes, so this is an animal rescue where I have worked for the last 13 years on staff, and we were in 10 little acres. we are moving to 100 acres. The truth is, our class will go some to the 10 acres and some to the 100 acres because some of the farm animals and such are at the 10 acres where it's quieter. They do amazing work. It is the largest no-kill shelter anywhere around the Southeast, and it's beautiful. And they have embraced Jin Shin Jyutsu from the first day. I wrote to the founder, Lori Hood, and said, "Hi, I do this strange thing," and she said, "Come on out and join us." So we will have this opportunity to be together. It's I think John is more articulate about the pluses of in-person classes.
Well, I think many in this group have had the benefit and privilege of doing an in-person class with Adele and working with animals, but there really isn't any substitute for, I mean, we all work with our, to some level, at some level, we all work with our companions at home, whether we're just petting them or doing intensive work with them, but there's nothing that compares to doing that work with a rescue animal or a shelter animal. And if you're able to do it on several occasions, to see the transformation. And there's really, as great as Zoom has been for the past 2 years, the ability to get together and have a global audience. We have folks from Austria and whatnot here. It's fantastic, but it really doesn't quite compare to doing this work together. There's some power in community and working and being together when we do this breath work, when we do self-help, and when we actually have our hands on, because Jin Shin Jyutsu, you can study it, you should study it for your whole life, keep going deeper, but there's nothing that compares with the actual experience of doing Jin Shin Jyutsu with another.
Yeah.
And this is the best opportunity. It's a really fantastic place for those who haven't been there. It is special. So if you have time in October, come visit.
Yeah, we are
Panhandle, Florida.
We are October 6th through the 9th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think our early bird goes through September 3rd.
Next Saturday.
Yeah, and we have gotten a real good price on hotel rooms at a La Quinta. They're two queen size beds. If you want a roommate, it makes it quite affordable. And we'll have a little bit of time. Probably we're only like a block off those white crystal beaches. So we'll probably go down there for some self-help in the morning. But I don't know, you can never count on it. They don't sign up to be extras, but to date, in all the classes I've ever taught, when we go to the beach for self-help, the dolphins have always showed up. So last week my family was in and the manatees showed up. So that's an extra little plus. And if I know some folks are looking to get their animal certification, and it does require one in-person class. So this would be a great opportunity for that, because you get horses, cats, dogs, donkeys, goats, sheep. I know I'm missing a lot of them, but it's really fills out a lot of different aspects of thinking of the art.
And for those who are involved in shelter work in your own communities around the country, the opportunity to see Aliqua, to meet Lori Hood, to see what she's done in her 12 years of doing this is inspirational to see and to be a part of. It's changed Jude and I's life tremendously. So come visit, come join us.
Adele is also giving another Scottsdale sponsored webinar on September 17th. I put a note in the chat. If you are not on Adele's email list, then please put your email address in the chat and we'll make sure you get information on that, as well as we have twice monthly faculty-led study groups. There's opportunities to get together in community as we've done today. So with that, let's jump over to Lisa, who's patiently had her virtual hand up.
Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. I was just going to add, I have 2 cats. And after I started to study Jin Shin Jyutsu, I became aware that they were putting their paws on my safety energy locks. And that was quite amazing. And to this day, I just pay attention to where they put their paws on me. And they too were somewhat rescues. So I found, as you've said today, that they're more receptive if I really work with myself first. So I just wanted to share that it's a two-way, that they're giving as well as receiving. Thank you.
So true, Lisa. And yes, I have a very compliant horse and a very compliant 2 dogs and a very non-compliant little girl, kitty cat, who, you know, we all kowtow to. But she loves it when the camera isn't on. And she's quite a teacher. She does that thing. She walks on you and tells you what you need. Yeah. And Michelle, you had your hand up long ago and far away.
Yes, I was just curious what holes Denise used to rectify her laminitis issues.
I focused on the spine actually. I did the 13 and the 10 first to just really connect with her. But she actually would tell me where she wanted me, but I would actually start on the spine, just going down each vertebrae. And then I would go down each leg, the hind legs, the front legs. She did not like the right side done as much, and she would actually tell me by pushing me and me going onto the other side. But you know, sort of those just literally holding each sort of the top of the leg, the middle, and then towards the hoof, and then holding. She'd actually hold her hoof up to me, and I would actually cradle the hoof in my 2 hands, and she loved that. She just used to just stay like that for quite some time, but mainly the vertebrae and the you know the legs. So
And Denise, you bring up another point that I was going to say, that the webinar I'm going to do on the 17th through Scottsdale, the topic of this is going to be, I haven't quite worked out the verbiage, but it's going to be about using Jin Shin Jyutsu to hear what your animals are telling you.
Yeah.
So thank you for just demonstrating that. Ever so beautiful. Great. And I think there were a couple more questions in the chat. Yes?
There was. Uda M had a question. If you're still on the phone, I can't tell if you're on there. My dog has severe problems with his ligaments in his left back knee. Any suggestions other than holding the 1s and the coccyx?
Sure. For knees, I think a lot about opposite 10 and the 1. Opposite stomach flow, which I know is 8 steps long and not always what they're open to, but I like that because you're working through and you're on the 1 and then down to this same knee, but the opposite side, the 8. And it's very balancing for the knee. Jude and John, you are the knee people of all times. Why am I even talking?
I like Jed's response to this. Everything works for everything, but some work better than others. I for those that are familiar with Jin Shin Jyutsu, I like on the same side 2 and 15. First anchor step of the second method of correction is a very helpful one for same side muscular or ligament bone issues, mobility issues. And also Adele has this flow that I didn't use for a long time because it confused me in the book, but it's called Muscle and Back Pain Relief. It's on page 34 in the old textbook. I think that's like page 37 or 8 in the new one. But essentially you're holding the 5 and the 16, you're holding the 5 and 16 at the ankle and then working from with one hand, with the right hand ideally, and then working down from the 8, the back of the knee, all the way down to down the leg. That is particularly helpful with all of these joint knee issues, muscular issues. So I'd use both of those. Jude?
I don't know if you can see this, but you can't really see it much. At least not, I didn't spotlight, but I'm demoing that on Carmen. It is a really helpful.
It's really helpful.
Arthritis, getting up the stairs more slowly. Yeah, back pain, knees. Are there other questions?
The other thing I would add before we leave that, because knees are such a big question, is that John and I are leading the faculty study group on September 12th. So watch your email for that announcement. It's the same Zoom link. So if you just want to save this email and mark it for September 12th at 8 p.m. And we're going to be demonstrating and talking about the bladder flow, which is very helpful for knee projects.
Beautiful.
There's a lot of tools in this toolbox. Everything helps everything.
Yeah. I love this. Somebody else is chiming in. That's good.
I had a question.
Yes.
Yesterday, I thought that my Greta had congenital heart disease. And then she seemed better and she took a nap and I did my errands, came back, we had dinner. She got really bad. So we took her to an emergency hospital really far away. And my husband drove, so I was able to hold her. And I held 13 and 10 and 13 and 4. She's hopefully coming home tomorrow or Monday. What else would you suggest?
3 and 15.
3 and 15.
Take the pressure off the heart.
Okay. Thank you.
Jude or John, anything else to add to that one? That's always my go-to for that.
And spleen flow for supporting all organs. Yeah.
Yeah.
How could I have left it out? Goodness.
Favorite flow, my favorite flow.
Hey,
And I have a foster cat here on the dining room table with me, and I was holding 13 and 10 with him, and he just kind of flopped over and laid on his back. He loves it.
that's great. And
I think that's it for the questions in the chat, but Regina has her hand up.
yes.
Hi. Thank you, everyone, John, Judith, and Adele. So it just seems like I don't get too often to put my hands on other loving animals, but I do have my kitty that I do, and she's been an ongoing, she's so amazing. She had so much anxiety. She came from who knows where, but some trauma. And now she comes out for other people and she'll hear someone's voice that she recognized. She comes out. So that's been beautiful. But recently I worked on a friend's dog, and I was over there several days before, and the dog was stopped eating and seemed very sad. And it was because their granddaughter had left, who had spent tons and tons and time. That was my observation. But they took her to the vet, and they did all kinds of tests. And the vet said, well, we don't find anything, but we think she's depressed. And so they called me again because they were quite desperate. She hadn't been eaten for days and would even stop drinking water. So I I did the 10 and 13 right away. But when I came to the door, my friend said, oh, she came to the door, the dog. And she was like so surprised because she heard my voice. And I think because I actually had put my hands on her a little bit that first day. And then I think I did a stomach flow, and with the depression, I thought I looked around. I thought, oh, maybe the bladder, and I did that. And then about 15 minutes later, the dog just got up, went over to her food, and started eating. And my friend just started to cry. So that was, and that seems to be when I get that opportunity. I tend to be a nervous person, so I make sure I do a little bit on myself first, and then so I can be present. And it's always these amazing immediate happenings that so I'm really happy. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
That's beautiful, Regina. You're pointing something out. I find, the animals are just so much more receptive and responsive sometimes. 10 minutes and they're like, oh yeah, I don't know what I was depressed about. I think I should eat.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And then later that evening, they wanted me to come back, and they were putting down more food. They were still all nervous. And I said, well, how many times has she eaten? And they were putting a third bowl down. And I was like, I need to work on these helicopter mom and dad. Anyway.
So often. Yes. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Well, any other? I don't see more hands. No. So Jude and John, any thoughts in closing?
No, we're just so I'm so happy that so many people came and are interested in this art. And for those of you who are in the Charleston and Aiken area who have heard us talk about this, thank you for coming. And we can't wait to be back with you in person. Here in Aiken, we'll be teaching at the SPCA at the Albrecht Center, as well as the county shelter where we volunteer now. And in Charleston, John's on the board of Halley Hill. We'll be there as well. So we look forward to seeing you all. And if anybody needs destination places, you can come see us in South Carolina after we see you in Florida this October.
Beautiful. And if anyone's local down here, Robin, I see you. I love you. I'm teaching just a 2-hour thing out at Aliquid next week. We'll do an hour of work on ourselves and then an hour with the animals. So I just have to ask, okay, Therese, is that you, Therese, like Phoenix Therese?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, guys, I just got to tell you this because it's weirder than anything.
Well, I stayed silent, so.
So Therese and I went to middle school and senior high and found each other 2-3 days ago, and she lives out in Phoenix. She's been to the Scottsdale office. Michelle, I don't know if you know her, but Terry knows her, and Jody knows her, and yeah, and I was looking. I don't know if this shows. It's kind of silly, but I got back in my box of. I lost most of my pictures in Katrina, but I found our graduation from 9th grade picture. So it just tickled me not only to reunite, but she does all kinds of fascinating energy work, and it's marvelous.
Therese, let's host Adele in Scottsdale.
Okay, then. I hear she's coming.
I told her we were working on it, and Terry has someone else who might help, so we can make this happen.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, beautiful. Well, I just want to thank you all for taking this time to share together, and beautiful to see all your faces. And we'll just keep our fingers crossed it's all in person at some time soon, or back in these little squares. Much love.
Great to see everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording.